Today on Talk Wrestling with Rob Van. I'm gonna pull up this shirt real quick. He gave me this shirt. Be yourself, everybody else is taken. You can't see all of it because it's windier in hell at Venice Beach right now, but that's okay. On today's Talk Wrestling, we're going to talk about who Rob Van Dam thinks is the next face of WWE and who he thinks is going to be the guy to take over when John Cena and Randy Orton finally step away. You causing trouble?
He's doing my thumbs.
You're doing your he has been. We've been watching RVD stuff all week because he knows who you are. But it's my son, by the way.
Everybody knows who I am.
Everybody knows who Rob Van Dam is. But I wanted him to see the wrestling style, not just the interviews that we've done, because the interviews aren't exactly PG related. The last three we've done, but I wanted him to see some of the matches too, because the matches are what brings RVD to the dance at the end of the day. So, what's that? You don't dance? You don't dance? Not even with Sonya?
I don't dance. I don't sing. But I do know every word to every Eazy-E and NWA song, and it's got to be taking up space in my brain that could be used for something more productive, but I don't know how to flush it out, if that's even possible. Right. Eventually, I figure I'll lose it all, so let's put it that way.
Is there anybody in the WWE that's in the locker room now that you've grown fond of that you haven't had a chance to work with yet, that you'd be like, maybe before you hang it up, you'd like to see a match or two with, just to get it done?
See, I don't really care about that much stuff, and that's probably, one of the biggest reasons maybe that I should move on, with my energies and stuff, because, a lot of people do want that and are hungry and more excited about that stuff than me. But I've always kind of been like that. I've never really looked at like, I wish I could have this match. I mean, for my whole career, I always get asked, what would be your dream match? I'm always like, dude, whatever pays the most.
Exactly.
I mean, honestly, I had everyone there, first off, with probably some exceptions, is really good.
Yeah.
In a way that's way above what it used to be when I was there before. I don't hear that talked about enough. The fact that half the dressing room is a second or third generation wrestler.
It's definitely good.
And then the other half has to keep up with them, and then they have the NXT to get him there. It's really produced a higher caliber wrestler, and I find that the guys that have been working 4 years come across like they've been working 10 to 12 years.
Well, that's an NXT training behind them too. Also, a lot of the guys,
absolutely.
You got guys like Kevin Steen, who's been in the Indies forever. I think you saw him at Gorilla when you were at Gorilla a couple years back.
Probably.
He's in NXT now, and he's doing great things. Kenta is there now. Hideo Itami, is that what his name is? He's doing that. You've got Prince Devitt. You got all the guys that are coming up that have had experience in the Indies anyway. They're much like you had the ECW years for 5 years going into WWE. You had that experience of working full tilt with everybody, where you right away, we talked about this before, had to tone yourself down a little bit to the WWE TV's time as opposed to doing your regular stuff. That's why the hardcore division was so ideal for you, because you could do whatever you wanted. And now, the kids that are there now, they do have the training behind them, but you still talk about 5-minute matches. You can't do a hell of a whole lot, unfortunately.
So everybody's really good, and also the industry, the style now that is there, that's the standard that's been set every week by WWE for everyone else in every level of the business, is a hybrid that I helped bring to the table.
Absolutely.
All these wrestlers that are in WWE now, they grew up watching me. And a lot of them have told me that and put it into perspective for me. Back in the day when I got into the business, there was still so many different styles, and for many years, there was Japanese style and Mexican style, and even in the States, there's Deep South wrestling. Then you got like the Northeast style, which is totally different. And after ECW helped. Jump a bunch of fences and go to places that haven't been explored before. They brought that style of wrestling to the mainstream. WCW kind of ripped them off, hired all those Mexican guys and Japanese guys back. But what we have now is a much different product. I grew up watching 300-pound wrestlers that didn't really leave the ground that often. That's why I was so fascinated by Leaping Lanny Poffo. You know, I didn't even hardly notice he got beat all the time, but as a fan, I pulled for him because he did flying head scissors and monkey flips, and that captured my imagination. I like to. I'll compare it to mixed martial arts. When UFC first came out, it was about what would happen if a boxer fought a judo guy. What would happen if a Kenpo master fought someone from Taekwondo? You know, that's what the first UFCs were.
Right.
Eventually, we learned what really works and what doesn't work in a real fight, crossing all this, you know, and the jiu-jitsu kind of, you know, was one of the most dominant ones that kind of got mixed with everything else. And then just the hybrid of MMA was born. It didn't used to be. There wasn't an MMA. Right. When I was growing up, I had to tell people what kickboxing was when I was doing it. They didn't even know what that was.
Exactly.
MMA just came along recently, and it's a hybrid of all the best of everything. And, you know, as is necessary with evolution, wrestling has done the same thing. So back in the day, in the 80s, wrestlers like Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels, they were too small to even be single competitors. They had to be tag team partners. That's how WWF looked at the wrestler. They wanted the big raw, and it was a slower, lazier style that got over back then. And now you see a lot of guys that are smaller that can really move and, doing flips and kicks and whatever all over the place. And it just so happens to be that's what wrestling has evolved into. And I openly accept my page in history as far as that goes. So as far as looking at these guys, there's not someone that I haven't worked with that I would love to work with. I say I'd like to be in the main event at Mania because that's the biggest payday. That's probably not likely going to happen, and I'm sure I don't want it nearly as bad as a lot of other guys do anyway. So
yeah, my son are asking me, is RVD going to win the Royal Rumble this year? I said probably not, Dylan, because that's in the main event of WrestleMania, and they're going to have the younger guys try to go for that. So the guys that aren't, you
never know. But
never know. Now that you've seen a lot of the new faces the last year and a half that you've been back with the WWE, who do you look at as? I mean, you mentioned Cesaro being the best they've got. Do you see him as being the next face of the company, the next guy that once John Cena finally does decide to step away, and Randy Orton also? Is there anybody besides Cesaro that you see really stepping up and being like the guy that's going to bring in the asses to the seats?
Man, that's a really tough one because there's so much put into who the WWE loves as, their poster boy. And it seems like they put a lot of time into who that person's going to be. So I wouldn't expect it to be someone to just pop up that's been used and or underused and been hanging around on the card. It looks like they've been preparing for a while to have, there's Cena and there's Randy Orton. There's Bryan Daniels,
Bryan Danielson,
and especially the reaction he gets from the fans, holy crap.
It just sucks he got hurt so quickly.
Yeah, but he'll be back. I think he'll be back, though.
Eventually, yeah, it's just a matter of when.
So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot to go. I mean, it's not just talent. It's also how flexible the talent is because WWE wants to be able to, to mold them into everything that they need to represent their message to the world. So there's it's not just something you eventually earn through hard work. You have to be you really have to qualify, and that takes a lot more than just being a good wrestler. It takes, being open-minded and being politically correct and being, being at one with the whole agenda, whatever it is at that time of the company.
Would you catch yourself an example of something that's the last example of totally opposite that? Because you've never been one to be very PC or you just did what you wanted to do, and it still worked. They still made you the Money in the Bank winner. They still made you the champion. And you got the run that you got. We talked about that the last time I talked to you. The run only ended because of what happened. But, again, you're one of the few guys left that's refused to totally conform to what WWE wanted to do, and you've still been a great success over the years.
Which is why I gave you my nonconformity shirt. That's right. It's a side project.
I will show that later. I'll show that to you later.
I'm the nonconformity ninja. Nonconformity.ninja has all those shirts. It's not even it's not so much a refusal to conform as it is an inability. It's just like I honestly don't know any other way to be but than to be myself. I don't know if that sounds too much like a Buddhist expression out there, but it's really my perspective of life.
All right, any last plugs? You want to plug your tweet secret one more time before we take off?
Yeah, this is my fan club, tweetsecret.com/Rob Van Dam. It's a cool page. It has like little previews that are a couple seconds long of the videos that I'm shooting. So you'll totally get it, and you'll understand what we're talking about. I always say go to robvandam.com for everything RVD, because that's where I have links to my Twitter and Facebook and my audio blogs and my web show, RVD Live, 2 to 3 on BeReal.tv. RVD, BeReal TV, PST, Pacific Time Zone.
Always Pacific Time for Rob Van Dam, always.
Yeah.
That's going to do it for Talk Wrestling. We will see you guys next time.
Yeah, what he said. Buy my comic book. Oh, I got T-shirts.
T-shirts. Everything RobVanDam.com.
Everything's there.
Everything's there.
Everything's there.